OK, let's get a reminder of our top story now. Then Tottenham in advanced talks with Bournemouth over a deal to sign Dominic Solanke. What impact could that have on Richarlison? Well, he has said that he does not want to move to Saudi Arabia, despite receiving a lucrative offer from the Gulf state. Speaking to ESPN Brazil, this is what he said. There has been an offer, but my dream of playing for Brazil in the Premier League speaks louder. He said, the money is big, but my dreams are bigger. Well, he then posted this on Instagram. So this is a picture of him at the Spurs stadium with the caption, I am home. OK. I could hear something in the background there when I was reading Netflix. Richarlison wants to stay. If they do bring in Solanke, which is looking, you know, like it's happening imminently, what impact would this have then on Richarlison?
Well, his game time through the middle would be severely cut down. I think that's for sure. I think what we saw last year through a combination of, you know, injuries and maybe bad form as well, and Son being a more clinical player in that position, we did see Richarlison maybe not play throughout the middle throughout the whole season. Didn't look like Ange Postecoglou's first preference, but always spoke very well of him, of course, as you would back in your players, and sort of saying that Richarlison is a good player and we want to get him fit most of all and want him get him confident. And I think Ange Postecoglou will be happy to have him in his squad, but in terms of him being his number 9, it's going to be Dominic Solanke if he comes. I just think that he's a multifunctional player. He can play across any area of the front. He can chip in with a few goals here and there. But some of the things he was saying there, and this big, you know, don't worry, guys, I'm not leaving vibe, it did feel a bit like, I wasn't sure the Tottenham fan base would be particularly like on edge of whether he would or wouldn't. It didn't come across that way, but it is refreshing to see a player, though, say, this is what I want, this is where I want to be.
I don't think he needed to. Like, no one was asking the question. It was one of those where I do feel like sometimes players do that to maybe safeguard themselves or maybe even entice someone to come along. I mean, he's chosen a risky path here because if Saudi offer him a lot more money, maybe his head might get turned.
His head might get turned, but I was looking at his numbers, and of course he was much maligned last season, and that's because he had a poor start to the season and a poor end to the season. But during December and January, he scored 9 goals in 8 games. He was in very, very good form. Last season, he scored 11 league goals from 18 starts. That's a very good record. And so he has a part to play at Spurs, maybe not as a starter if they sign Solanke. But I think we need to maybe reassess how we look at Richarlison, because when he's been given opportunities and he's found form, he scored goals for Spurs. It's just that his goals came at the wrong time. And a lot of times, when it comes to narratives in the Premier League, if you have a great start, you have a great finish, then people remember it. But if your goals come in the middle of the season, they kind of get forgotten about. And that's what's happened to him last year.
I also think the two of them can't coexist because Spurs play a front 3. So I don't think they'll play Richarlison off the right or the left. Son plays off the left. They have Kulusevski on the right. Solanke won't play out wide. So they only have space for one number 9. And I don't think you can have 2 players that are 60 million plus who are rotating as number 9. Solanke needs game time. As Kwaku said earlier, played 38 games last season. He's not now going to say, I don't mind playing 20, so Richarlison can play 15, 16 games. So I think they've got a bit of a problem there, because if they can't offload, they must have a plan to offload Richarlison. So that's bringing Solanke.
It does seem like that, and I feel like, personally, I feel like Richarlison, with his personal ambitions and some of the battles he's come through as well. We spoke so well last year about the mental health struggles he had to return back to playing football at the level he would like to. I think he's going to want to play. He's going to want to have that bit between the teeth. And he has always been that player from his days at Watford through to Everton, getting sort of between 11 and 14, maybe 15 goals, maybe from wide areas, sometimes up front. Like I said, he is versatile. I think he can have a role to play within the squad, but I just think, in the end, maybe even after maybe one more year of maybe not playing, because I think if this move materialises with Dominic Solanke, I think he'll look at it and say, well, I'm not playing enough. But I think for now, I think he'll be happy to just clearly be at home, as he says, and see where it goes from there. But I agree with Nabeed, there's only space for one for me. And ironically, they are actually two £60 million signings, forget that. But I just don't think he will be the number 1 starter if Dominic Solanke comes to the club.
Yeah, so role to play, but we've talked about how they need a striker since Harry Kane's left. They're lacking goals in that department, and you think it's Solanke that's going to get those for them?
I do. I just think the playing style, with the attributes that Solanke has, and like I said earlier, with the fact that Spurs have a little bit of a knack for kicking players on, you know, players going up to the next stage of their respective careers. And that's happened with the likes of Romero, Van de Ven, Vicario, Porro, Kulusevski, Udogie. That's just a few. You know, Bentancur's had quite a lot of injuries, but he's managed to reignite himself a little bit coming from Juve. So I feel like Spurs is a good club, this version of Spurs under this manager, playing in this way. And also with the patience with the fans. Like, obviously, Spurs want to get a trophy and they want to do something special finally. But at the end of the day, there's an acceptance there that Ange Postecoglou is building something and still trying to embody himself into the football club. And the fans seem to be quite behind that. It's a big season for them, but I think the patience is always there in terms of he's building something new.
I do think the knock-on effect on Son will be interesting, because I felt last season when Son played off the left, he did struggle a little bit. It reminded me of Sadio Mane at Liverpool, where once they lose that little yard of pace, they do find it difficult to come against right-backs that are a little bit more athletic. He's the best finisher in the league, in my opinion. And when he was playing through the middle last season, he is a gunman. He's going to score goals. If you're now asking him to go play back on the left because we've brought in Solanke through the middle, in my mind, I would have thought Spurs should have gone for a left winger and played Son through the middle. He's also very rarely injured. He's always available. You've now got a situation where probably your best player or your star player is going to have to play in a position that now feels like it's not really his position anymore. I think that will be a sticking point.